Hi there. In a world where nothing is certain, that means anything is possible, right? If you want to fulfill your dreams and desires, you are in the right place. You absolutely can have a life of happiness. Everyone deserves an abundance of love, laughter, success, health, and wealth. I'm Nadya Tkachenko, and you're listening to the Happy, Inspired, Motivated podcast. The show that brings you meditation, mindset, and motivation. So start by giving yourself permission to be awesome. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hi there, and welcome to this week's episode of Happy, Inspired, Motivated. So today I have the lovely Nadya with me, and she is the CEO, founder, and facilitator of Live and Thrive, which is a holistic wellness and habit change program. She is also the founder and yoga instructor at Sun Essence Yoga. Now, Nadya is a holistic wellness and life coach, and she's also a certified consistency coach. She uses holistic approaches to wellness to help people prioritize, refine, and level up their daily habits and physical and mental well-being so they can live their life to the fullest and so that they can fulfill their greatest potential. In her approach, she combines the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda, yoga's sister science of holistic health, with brain science of long-term behavior change, as well as strategies from positive psychology to help people overcome limiting beliefs, resistance, and deeply ingrained habitual patterns, and then to dial in and stay consistent with new behaviors that lead to positive change. Now, I first interviewed Nadya last week, but when I got to the end of the interview with this wonderful lady, I had pressed stop instead of record, so we didn't have any of the podcast recorded. So Nadya has very kindly agreed to join us again this week, so I am definitely going to record it, and you get a chance to listen to it again, and I get a chance to speak to her twice. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Nadya to our podcast.
Hello, hello.
Hi, Nadya. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Tara?
Good. And I'm recording this time.
That's great to know.
So it should be successful, which is great news.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for coming back. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was so much fun last time. I figured, we'll have another conversation. It'll go differently. And
yes, exactly. Obviously there's something different we need to speak about, I guess, because otherwise the universe wouldn't have done that, would it?
Exactly. I completely agree.
So how are you doing? What have you been up to? Anything good?
Oh yeah, I've been doing great. I've been, working away on my spring reset that's coming up that I'll be offering a couple of weeks from now. And here, in the States, spring is just coming in. Like daffodils and things are just popping up, so that's exciting.
Yeah, the same here. I love the spring. It's my favorite season. It's all rebirth and, new potential coming out. It's great.
Exactly. It's very uplifting.
It is. And actually a friend of mine, she's just rebranded her website, and she launched it today. And she's got this this quiz, like personal style brand type quiz thing.
Yeah.
And I did that, and my season's spring. So there you go.
Oh, well, I'm not surprised.
I was like, oh my God, it's my favorite season as well. So I was really happy with that. Yeah. So
Great.
So Nadya, tell us a little bit about what you do so my listeners can understand more about your approach to wellness.
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to share. So I am an Ayurvedic wellness coach. And what that means is that I use the principles of Ayurveda, which is the ancient science of well-being and health from India, in my approach to help people align their daily choices, align their daily habits to cycles of nature. And I know that sounds kind of maybe confusing, like how do we align to cycles of nature? And the idea is that, Ayurveda the word Ayurveda means life science. Mm-hmm. And at the core, it sees that humans are part of nature, which is, of course, like, how could we not be part of nature?
Yeah, I agree.
Right. And so nature has a certain rhythm to it. It has cycles like day and night, the monthly cycles, the annual cycles of the seasons. And so, what happened in our modern lifestyle is we kind of started to disregard those cycles. So,
Hmm.
for example, we'll stay up late until midnight, burning the midnight oil, working or doom
Yeah.
scrolling or watching a movie. Another example is we'll eat a nice big dinner at 9 p.m., which is like, a part of our modern lifestyle. We come
Yeah.
home from work, we relax cooking, sitting with a family to eat. But in fact, if you kind of break down these modern lifestyle habits and look at them under a microscope, they really are going against how nature has designed our bodies and minds to thrive.
Okay.
Yeah. And so in my wellness coaching, I basically kind of teach people how to realign their daily lifestyle to serve them better so that they can feel more energized, so that they can sleep better, so that
Mhm.
they can digest better. All the things that in our modern health we are kind of suffering from. And we don't know why. We try different diets, we try
Yeah.
different regimens, but they don't stick, they don't work. So this is just kind of a very simple on one hand, but also effective way to bring bodies back into balance.
So how are we going against what our body cycles should be doing then on a daily basis?
Yeah, it's actually really simple. As parts of nature, as animals, if you will, we are diurnal beings. We're not nocturnal beings. Yeah, our
Okay.
schedule, our rhythm is very different from a cat, for example.
Hmm.
My cat wakes up at 7 p.m. and starts playing or hunting, if you will.
Yeah, mine goes out
And
about 9 p.m. and stays out all night.
yeah, exactly. So the rhythm of human bodies and minds is kind of the opposite of that. And we've evolved like that for a reason.
Hmm.
So the idea is that we will thrive if we, for example, eat our main meal closer to the middle of the day and eat more of a supplementary meal later in the day, but still when there's daylight. Right? Our digestive system actually has evolved in such a way that it slows down after about 2 p.m. and keeps slowing down. So if we eat a big dinner after 6 p.m., we're not digesting it, right? Our
Okay.
body's energy is getting wasted on trying to digest that dinner
Mm.
while we're sleeping, and we wake up groggy. We're almost like borrowing energy from the next day if we do something like that.
Well, that kind of
So
makes
that's
sense
one of
because,
the
yeah,
examples.
you do wake up a bit. Sometimes you can wake up feeling like you're not rested. And it could be, yeah, if it's to do with your body that's digesting all night, I guess that's why.
Yeah, exactly. We often don't realize it. And, oftentimes people come to work with me and they say, well, my diet is really good. I shop at the market, I grow my own food. So let's not talk about my diet. Let's talk about my sleep or my energy. And oftentimes it's like, yeah, well, it's actually not about what you eat. And I really appreciate that you're eating all this food that you're growing. But let me ask you, when are you eating? Oh, well, we usually cook at 7 p.m. We sit down at 8 or 9 p.m. to eat a nice
Mm,
family meal. And it's like that's what I'm talking about, the rhythm of
yeah.
nature that we kind of disregard. We don't think it's important. We're often more concerned with what we should eat. Like that's the first question people
Yeah.
ask.
Yeah.
And that also happens partly because as modern humans, we've kind of removed ourselves from connection with nature. Like we don't actually know what to eat. We need to be told what to eat. We go to the
Yeah,
market.
we get used to eating food that's prepared already, don't we? I mean, it's not we don't have the time that we used to have to prepare full
Yeah.
ingredients. So it's yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons. And another reason is, we're spoiled in a way. We go to
Mm,
the supermarket and we have fruits and vegetables all year long
yeah.
from different countries of the world. They're always available for the most part throughout the year. And so we don't know what's in season.
That's
We
true.
don't know what's going to serve us. And so we constantly ask this question, what should I eat? And that's a good question to ask. Of course, I'll guide people to eat vegetables versus hamburgers, but
Mhm.
the bigger question is when. The bigger question is the question of rhythm.
Okay. Yeah, and I suppose, I mean, does it matter that we eat, I don't know, papaya in the winter, that kind of thing? Does it matter that it's not seasonal to us at that period? And also it's kind of like what, for example, the fruits and vegetables that are grown in Britain, we don't have avocados and things like that, but we eat them. So I have sometimes wondered whether or not we should be doing, because it's not, because each country is different and each person in that country was sort of grown to that country, if that makes sense, into that climate. So maybe eating fruits and vegetables from another country, especially at the wrong time of year, that could be quite detrimental, I imagine.
Yeah, it's not like a life or death question kind of thing, but
No.
it's a big spectrum. Like, what is better for us? What is ideal? What is going to be detrimental to our health? What is going to be beneficial for our health? And the idea is that the closer to home, the better. The more seasonal, the better. The closer the food was grown to where you live right now, the more energy, or what we call prana, it will
Okay.
have.
Yeah.
Like spinach grown in your backyard and spinach brought in from somewhere else, if it was grown far away, is going to have very different energy in it, and it's going to give you a different kind of nutrification.
Okay.
So this question of like, what if something comes from another country and we don't grow it? It's okay. It's still going to give you nutrients. But there's also something to be said about seasonal eating. Like,
Hmm.
certain foods are better for us in the summer, certain foods are better for
Yeah.
us in the winter, etc.
I suppose it kind of, I mean, energy is a thing that sort of, it can evaporate as such, can't it? So I suppose the fruits and vegetables that are traveling a long way to get here will have lost energy as well by the time they make it to our stores.
Exactly. So
Mm.
that's exactly how it happens. And also things that, we can buy so readily in our stores, that are foods that are prepared or frozen, that energy will evaporate. Like you said, yeah, the prana will start to thin out and disappear. So we're basically, in the end, eating empty calories,
Mm.
and they give us a bit of a spike of energy. Our body isn't digesting those calories very well. We're not actually getting the nutrification that we need from those foods.
Yeah, because it is a transference of energy, isn't it? That's what eating food it does to you, not just giving you nutrients for your body that can be measured. It's an energetic exchange as well. So yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mm. So tell us a little bit about how you got started. It's quite an interesting story.
Yeah, I love talking about this story. So years ago, almost 20 years ago, I was learning to be a yoga teacher, and that was in Nepal. And I was really young and excited to become a yoga teacher. But as
Hmm.
part of the training, to my surprise, I guess, we were learning about Ayurveda. Like, here in the West, if you're learning to be a yoga teacher, Ayurveda is a whole separate topic, whereas there it was part and parcel
Yeah.
of yoga teacher training. And it was really fascinating. It was really interesting, but I kind of put it on the back burner because all I wanted, I was really determined to just teach yoga. That was my interest. And they're very much connected, yoga and Ayurveda. Yoga is about bringing balance to body, mind, and spirit on the yoga mat, whereas Ayurveda is about the same thing off the mat through
Hmm.
our daily habits. But I thought, I'll think about it later, which I ended up doing because, for 20 years after that, I really lived a very, very busy, very ambitious life, kind of muscling through, getting a master's degree, working 9 to 5 jobs, living in different countries, raising a family. I have 4 kids. And, just feeling like I want to have so much impact in the world. I'm going to push through everything. And at some point, my body started to send me signals that, maybe you should slow down. And I ignored those signals
Of course.
completely. I wanted to keep moving, keep going. And then at some point, my body broke down. And
Mm.
I had all kinds of symptoms, all kinds of diagnoses, all came together in like 1 year, which was really scary.
Mm.
And as a mom of 4 young kids, that was a wake up call. Like, what's next? How am I going
Yeah.
to live my life next? Are they going to take care of me? So it was really a wake up call, a pivot moment where I thought, that Ayurveda thing that I learned about 20 years ago, that had some wisdom in it.
Mm.
And the wisdom that I took from it in that pivotal moment is that my lifestyle, my choices were very much going against the rhythm that Ayurveda is teaching about.
Yeah.
I was putting my kids to sleep and then sitting up in front of my computer until midnight trying to finish a project or something like that, and then waking
Mm.
up early and pushing myself through like a rigorous workout. And that just burned me out completely.
Yeah.
And that's where I went back to looking at Ayurveda, studying Ayurveda, and what I've learned really was life changing for me. Really transformed how my body felt. I overcame, an autoimmune diagnosis, which is huge.
Yeah.
And at some point, I started to bring in some of the interesting bits and pieces about Ayurveda into my yoga classes. Like people would be in a downward dog, lifting their leg up, and I would say, it's the fall, so these are the foods that will help you keep, balanced digestion. Just because I was so passionate about that at that
Hmm.
point. And so people started coming up to me asking, can you teach us more? This sounds really interesting. I would tell them about their mind body constitutions. Like each person has a different mind body constitution. And I would just kind of have a yoga class around that theme.
Mm.
That piqued a lot of interest. And I ended up giving talks that were dedicated to different topics around Ayurveda. And then eventually, to make this really long story short, I decided to offer a program, a course, which
Hmm.
which delivers all the teachings that helped me transform my health, and actually helped me live the life of impact that I wanted to create, but
Yeah.
in a better way, in a healthier way. And I decided that it was criminal not to offer it to other people,
Yeah,
not to share what
definitely.
I've learned.
So, I mean, but how, so I know I understand about all the balance and, well, I say understand, I understand from talking to you, but I mean, I don't necessarily implement it myself all the time. Um,
Mhm.
but if you're busy and you're working the 9 to 5 and you don't get home till late and things like that, I mean, how can you actually incorporate that into your life? It's quite difficult, don't you think?
It is, absolutely, and that's why a lot of people don't, and that's
Mm.
why I didn't when I was in my 20s,
Yeah.
because I felt like it would just be impossible in my busy life. But that's where, what I decided to do is kind of also learn, in addition to learning about Ayurveda, I immersed myself in this study of habit change. How can we gradually change what we do, how we do it with these tiny baby steps, just kind of tweaking, experimenting. And so in my program, I use a lot of these strategies of
Mhm.
modern brain science that kind of unravels for us why we do what we do, why we have resistance around change. And I bring that into my teachings so that I don't just teach people what to do, but also how to do it. And then logistics too. There's a lot of ways to, for example, the questions you asked about, like how do we cook a meal if we come home from work late and we're
Mhm.
tired. There's ways to kind of architect our choices, architect our environment, prepare some things in advance, chop veggies on the weekend so they're not losing their prana, but they're already chopped and ready to be thrown into a simple meal. And I
Mhm.
teach that throughout the course because
Yeah.
knowledge of what is good for us is not enough. It's everywhere. You can Google any of it.
You can,
But
yeah, but it's
yeah,
good to know it's not just what, it's also why, isn't it? Why it's important to us.
yeah, yeah. And that's really a big question that I ask if people come to me, with like a symptom or
Mm.
desire to change their health. We dive into their why at the beginning for a long time because people kind of need to really first and foremost understand why they want this change, why they
Mhm.
want better energy, why they want to lose weight, and all of that.
Yeah, but we don't. We're very good at going down the tunnel the whole time until we get to the roadblock, which for example, could be a health issue or something like that, and we just burn out. It's not until we get there that we think, "Oh, I need to change something." But we
Yeah,
should be changing before then. That would be so much
exactly.
more beneficial.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the nature of really lifestyle change is it's preventative.
Mm.
What happened to me in my life and what happens to a lot of people that I work with, it's kind of like this metaphor of being really thirsty and starting to dig a well because there's no water
Mm.
around, and it's too late
Yeah.
because it'll just take too long and you won't get the thirst satisfied fast enough. And it's really about digging that well and preparing in advance by aligning our habits, our daily choices to the rhythm of nature.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, my middle daughter, she's got the sweetest tooth, I think, out of all of us. And she decided that she was going to stop sugar. So she's having like a bit of a sugar detox. And she started that on Monday, and then yesterday she came home from work with a banging headache. Oh my God. She had to go lie down. She was terrible. I said, "It's because you've cut your sugar out." And she's like, "Oh yeah, of course." Because she just thought she had a headache for some other reason. She wasn't sure, obviously, why, but it was because she'd cut the sugar out, and it was her
Yeah.
body was like, "Oh my God." It was struggling. It was crazy.
Absolutely. It's detoxifying. I mean, the process of detoxification, you feel the good, wonderful results afterwards. But during the
Mhm.
detoxification period, people often will get a headache. They will feel nauseous. They will feel really tired. And
Mhm.
that's something I'm preparing people for who are going to start a detox with me, a yogic detox in April. That, the actual process does is not fun. It's fun in the sense that you're doing something for your health. You're really saying yes to yourself.
Hmm.
You're choosing to clear not just your body, but also your mind. That is
Hmm.
a big part of a yogic detox is we do like a daily mental clearing exercise.
Hmm.
And in the deepest depths of it, people will feel tired. They might have a headache, but it's a good sign that the body's letting go of
Yeah.
stuff that has been accumulating.
Yeah, I have a new lady who's just started on my overnight success academy program, and so at the beginning of it is we're talking about mindset and looking at limiting beliefs and things, and she's just finished part of it, and she said to me because I'm having a call with her later, and she said just to warn you, I've been in tears going through
Oh,
what you gave me, and I was like, well, that's good, that's really good, and she was like. Is it? I said, yeah, because it means that you're releasing and you're crying because it's like, oh my God, I've been holding this for so long. And it's
absolutely.
a release, and that's why you're letting it go. And yeah, it's the same for the yogic detox that you're saying. You've got to go through the bad stuff to get to the good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I tell people it's like clearing a closet. It gets messier first when you
Yeah,
take everything out, and you're
all
like,
the
why
bed.
did I even start this? But then it gets cleaner afterwards.
Ah, yes, I don't like cleaning things out. That's yeah,
Yeah.
and I think it is basically. I mean, I do feel good afterwards, but it is the whole middle bit, the messy bit with the piles of clothes everywhere, and oh my God, I can't move, and that kind of thing. But when it's
Yeah,
done, you're like, whoa, that was worth it. That was good.
exactly. That's what any detox feels like. And the fun thing too about, the work that I do is that I offer these kind of intensive detoxes twice a year, which is what yogis around the world do, kind of at the junctures of seasons. But
Mhm.
also when we align our daily habits to the rhythm of nature, the body detoxifies not as intensely, but on a daily basis. So we don't actually, like people who are in my bigger program who do a detox, they don't experience the headaches, the nausea, that much of an effect, the
Yeah.
negative effects, right? Because on a daily basis, by eating at certain times, not snacking, really allowing their body to detoxify daily, they're already prepared. They're
Mhm.
already at a better place.
Yeah. Yeah. So the yogic detox is twice a year, you said. So
Yes.
the one's coming up now in spring. So I'm guessing the other one is autumn.
Yeah, so I do one in April and one in October. There
Mhm.
isn't like a specific time on a yogic calendar that we all have to do it at the same time, but it's
Mm.
really at the juncture of like spring and summer, and then summer and fall, so that we can clear out any accumulated energy of that previous season. If we
Mhm.
carry it with us into the next season, we are going to feel not 100%. Like now we're moving from winter into spring and towards summer, there's a lot of accumulated energy of vata and kapha, which are these like cold energies. The kapha energy is very heavy.
I
It,
can I was
it
gonna
might
say, I
feel,
imagine it's heavy. Yeah.
yeah, heavy. It'll make people feel lethargic. People will gain weight. People will feel heavy in their minds. And if we don't clear all of that in around April, then we'll carry that into the summer. And who wants to feel
Mhm.
that way
No, exactly.
summertime?
So what comes out of the summer at the other end? Because surely the summer's vibrancy and life and sunshine.
Yeah, yeah. So what comes out in the fall, what we're clearing in the fall is the energy of pitta, or the energy of fire, which manifests oftentimes when there's too much of it in inflammation.
Mm, okay.
Inflammation in the body, inflammation in the mind, like irritability, too much heat. And in the
Yeah.
body, that inflammation can come from like overdoing it. And in the summertime, we're sort of supposed to relax, but I don't know if it's the same in where you live, but here, like when people have vacation, they're just doing so much. They're doing more than
Mm.
they do on a daily basis. Like we feel like we have so little time to have fun. We fill our days with all these activities and we actually end up feeling burned out at the
Yeah,
end of
that's true.
summer.
Yeah. Yeah, I hadn't thought
But
about it like that, but yeah, it's true, you do. In the summer, you're like, "Oh my god, I can get outside, I can do things," and you're rushing around and trying to get lots of things in before the winter starts again when the
yeah,
nights
yeah,
are really long and
exactly. And the other thing that happens oftentimes in the summer, at least there here in this part of the world, is we end up eating a lot of inflammatory foods. Like there's barbecues and hot dogs and hamburgers and things like that.
mm,
People grill lots of meats. So just kind of a big generalization, of course, but there's a lot of, wine and beer because people are partying. It's summer celebration. All of those foods are highly inflammatory.
okay.
They're fun, but we need to kind of clear all of that in the fall. Otherwise, we'll carry it into winter.
Yes, yeah, I guess that's true, yeah, I don't think about, like, barbecues as unhealthy, really, I don't know, I suppose. I think of it as a healthier version of cooking, but
To some degree, yes, but it's really what comes with it. Like a barbecue here is a party. It's like wine and beer and
yeah, it is here as
that
well.
kind of thing, and and it's really more meat based. Yeah, of course, if you're in a family that's vegetarian or vegan, you can still have a barbecue that's not meat
Mhm.
based. But for the most part, people are eating more meat because they
Mm.
can do the grills and the barbecues.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm not saying it's
No,
not, but
no, it
that's
is, yeah, it's fun,
something.
although, I mean, we haven't really used our barbecue for a while because, my daughter's a vegetarian and vegan, so it's only
Mm,
me that eats meat in the house. So, first of all, firing up the barbecue is a waste of time, really, and then
mhm.
I can't have the meat next to the vegetables, and I can't, this kind of thing, if it spits on it and things, so we just
It
kind
gets
of haven't really
complicated.
bothered, so
Yeah,
yeah,
I think there's lots of really yummy vegetarian things you can do on the grill, on the barbecue.
probably, but as soon as I see barbecue, I think meat. That's why
Exactly.
it's psychological. I do think
Oh
that
yeah.
I have to put meat on the barbecue.
Yeah, that's what most people think. And then like you associate meat with barbecue, then barbecue is also associated with summertime,
Mm,
fun, outdoors. And then that's what I was talking about is like the rhythm of our choices
mm.
kind of leads to this accumulation of of fiery foods, things we prepare on the fire, they have more fire in them too.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's
Oh,
kind of
that makes sense.
fun, fun to look at things through that lens, isn't it? Through
Yeah,
the lens
it is.
of
It's completely
elements.
different. I hadn't thought about it like that. So that's good. So if you're doing the yogic detox, you're detoxifying the mind, the energy, and the diet, I presume.
Yes. Yeah. So basically, there's a little a dietary component where I guide people to simplify and reduce the amount of food they're eating. Really focus more on simplifying more than anything. It's not a
Mm.
starvation diet. It's not a juice cleanse. It's just really designed to kind of redirect our energy of digestion to energy of detoxification.
Mhm.
And then the second component is the mental clearing. There's like a journal page every day. At the beginning, we'll look at limiting beliefs, just like you do in your program. Like a lot of people come into the program and they don't believe in themselves that they
Mm,
can do this, that they can lose weight, or they can let go of inflammation or
mm,
allergies because they've had it forever. So, um, there's that. Some other limiting beliefs that people come in with is like they're such a perfectionist. If they don't check off all the boxes on this detox, they might as well not do it at all. And
yeah.
so I kind of tell people, it's about progress, not perfection. It's about experimenting. It's about learning to listen to your body,
Mhm.
not checking off boxes.
No, definitely. And I remember last time we spoke, when I didn't hit record, um, you talked about, so during the detox, you were saying like the diet would be, was it rice and mung beans, wasn't it? That was the main, yeah. And you were
Yes.
talking about the body digesting one food at a time. That was easier, if I remember you saying.
Yeah, yeah. So what you want to give your body during a detox is make it as easy as possible for the digestive system to work.
Mhm.
When we give our body lots of different ingredients, lots of different foods in one, it has a harder time. It has to use a lot of energy, a lot of circulation to digest that food and then to assimilate and then to eliminate, right? And what we want to do is, like, we all have that same amount of energy that we use
Mm.
for digestion, assimilation, detoxification, elimination, right? And when we give our body something really simple, like basic carbs and basic proteins, which is, a little bit of rice, a little bit of mung beans, it has such an easy time digesting. Then
Mm.
that remaining energy also go towards clearing, detoxification, elimination of any toxins or any of that cluttered energy, stuck energy that we've had. That's the idea. But the mung beans and rice is a very traditional sort of yogic detox food. It comes from India, but like we were talking about it earlier, we don't live in India. So
Yeah.
I offer people choices, whatever they can imagine for themselves as like a simpler meal. Maybe it's just oatmeal,
Hmm.
or maybe it's rice and beans as opposed to rice and mung dal. Um, or maybe it's just roasted veggies with a few chickpeas. Like, but just simple, simple, simple is fine. There's no like
Yeah.
prescribed diet.
Yeah. I mean, it's the whole, it's cleansing. And I can imagine the body is relieved to not have to digest different things, because it does take extra energy to do different things, doesn't it? So I guess it's getting a bit of a breather as well. So
Yeah,
it does
yeah.
eliminate quite a lot. So
Yeah, and another thing that happens that is kind of more subtle but also very important is that when we simplify the food and we eat almost like the same thing, not too much variety for 2 weeks, we clear our palate. Our palates are very spoiled. We crave spicy, like full body tastes, and we crave sugar, we crave caffeine.
mm,
And when we simplify our diet, we really clear those cravings away as well. When we come out of the detox, we feel like even the simplest new foods taste amazing.
that's
We
really
don't
cool. Yeah.
we don't crave like too much sugar or too much salt or too much caffeine, and we reduce all of that. We don't completely eliminate all of that from the detox, but we reduce a lot of that so that when we come out, like, a lot of people say, "My gosh, I thought I'd miss my coffee, but I didn't miss it, and I don't even want it anymore." Like, the taste doesn't taste good anymore to some people. Same with
Yeah,
alcohol or sugary things. So that's another amazing thing that happens
that's
during
really
it.
good. Yeah. So how do your kids find your lifestyle? Are they on board with it? Do they follow the same program as you?
They're totally on board with it. They don't follow the same program as me. They obviously get a kind of a trickle down effect. Like, I eat more vegetables, so there's more veggies in our fridge, and there's more like simple soups and things like that. And it's an interesting thing. I have a 15-year-old son who it really isn't into my dietary choices, but on the other hand, he meditates like every day. He's been doing that since he was like 10, and he just
Oh, that is
decided
really
to
good.
do it out of his
Yeah.
own will. I wasn't even teaching it to him. My daughter, on the other hand, she really listens. Like, she notices everything that I'm doing. Maybe it's a mother-daughter thing,
Mm.
but she's now doing her own detox. Like, I don't even know what it is. It's not Ayurvedic. She found some kind of program online that she liked. She's eliminating sugar and carbs and something like that out of her diet. She's exercising every day. So she's really kind of following in the same path, but
Mm.
on her own. It's her
Finding
own
her own
path, and
path.
I'm fine with it. Like, I never preach, oh, you should do the Ayurvedic thing, not the other thing. They're all good for us. And
Yeah.
yeah, so they follow, they kind of notice, and that's the best thing, is like that gentle trickle down, like a ripple
Mm.
effect. Because I don't want my kids to go against what I'm doing if I start to preach or start to change them in any way. You know how
Yeah,
it is.
yeah. When mum starts talking about it, it's like, well, I'm not going to do that then. Yeah, because
Oh,
mum said so.
that's our human nature.
Yeah, of course it is. It is. And when you say like for about meditating and things, like last week I didn't meditate or exercise at all for the whole week, and I felt really sluggish and I don't know, just very. I was in a funk and I didn't feel that great. And it's true, it does make a huge difference to your life. And meditation's not necessarily an hour long um, practice, it can be as short or as long as you like, but just doing something that's mindful and keeping you in the present moment, and shutting out all the other noise by closing your eyes, for example, and things like that, and some exercise, just 15 minutes of exercise a day, it makes a big difference to your body and your mind as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And those two things that you mentioned, both meditation and exercise, as we know them now, like they are part of our natural rhythm. Again, going back to that idea that, in our caveman days, there was a lot of exercise, but it was
Mm.
intermittent. It wasn't like we were jogging for an hour or 2 hours, which is what we do now, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, like that's, it was kind of intermittent exercise, a little bit of running, a little bit of climbing, a little bit of swimming, but daily. But at the same time, I'd imagine, there was also a lot of idle time. Like when you're not
Yeah.
hunting and gathering, there's no television, there's no, theater performances to rush to, there's no
Mm.
9 to 5 job per se. You're just sitting around watching the clouds go by, and that is part of our natural rhythm,
Mhm.
which we've also disregarded. Thank goodness for meditation as a form of bringing that
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, definitely. And just being in, and when people go out into nature, they love it because it does revitalize them, and getting away from the screen time and things like that. It makes a big difference, and they don't, when they do it, they're like, oh, this is really good. We should do this more often. But obviously, time and things, I guess, it's quite difficult to fit it in all the time, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but it's an interesting issue that you bring up. When I start working with people and teaching them to bring in self-care habits, the biggest obstacle is time.
Yeah.
It's like there's no life work balance because work takes precedence. Family is maybe the second most important thing. Self-care takes a back seat. But what if we, shifted our mindset around it and named self-care as part of our lifestyle?
Hmm.
Like self-care is non-negotiable, because if we don't do it, if we don't implement it in our life, even in 2 minute, 3 minute increments, then the body is going to break down. Then we're not going to be working as efficiently. We're
Yeah.
not going to be reaching our goals as entrepreneurs. We're not going to be the best parents if we're groggy and snapping at the kids and not sleeping enough. And
Yeah.
so if self-care was part of the lifestyle and then everything else was secondary, how amazing would that be?
Totally amazing. Definitely. We have to love ourselves. We've got to, because like you say, if you're not in a good place, then everything else that's in your experience, in your environment, suffers from it as well, because
Absolutely.
you're not on your top performance. So
Absolutely.
mm.
Yeah. It's about peak performance and deep rejuvenation both at the same time. You can't be at your peak performance if you're not giving yourself that deep experience of care,
Mm.
rejuvenation, rest. Yeah.
I don't know, where did it come from that was selfish? Who made that up? It's crazy.
Modern life, part of it
Mm.
is like maybe it's the feminism, like, hey, you can have a 9 to 5 job and raise kids and go protest outside, you can do it all.
But you can't look after yourself.
But you can look after yourself, exactly. That's too much. I don't know if it's that, but I think just in general, modern lifestyle is what it is.
Mm.
We're expected to be so ambitious and successful at everything we do. We're constantly comparing ourselves to others. If we're taking care of ourselves, we're not doing, quote unquote, anything towards
Mm.
our bigger goals, which is so not true. It's really that's a limiting belief,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
And we
know.
have to be doing something.
Yeah, yeah. We always have to be busy. We always have to be doing something, and that's why self care is not seen as that. And that's really a bit of an issue, and that's where the mindset shift is so
Mm.
necessary.
It
Mm.
is definitely. Well, thank you so, so much for coming back and joining me this week.
Yeah, you're so welcome. This was fun, just like it was last week.
Yeah, just deja vu.
Yeah, a great conversation.
It
It was
was.
fun.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. So, if my audience want to find you, where can they get hold of you, and where can they learn more about the yogic detox, maybe, which is in um, twice a
It's in
year? So that's good.
yeah, it's very soon, but it is twice a year. Yeah. So the best way is to go to my website.
Hmm.
And if they go to sunessenceyoga.com,
Hmm.
there will actually be a window that pops up that that invites them to find out a little bit more about the reset specifically. It's kind of time sensitive, so that window is going to be there just for the next 2 weeks or so. But then the best way to actually have a conversation with me, where I can kind of give your listeners more clarity around their body goals, their challenges in terms of their wellness, mind body wellness, is to get on Zoom with me, like like we're talking right now.
Yeah.
And I will ask them a few questions. I'll help them clarify where they're at, where they want to go, and I'll just guide them. I'll give them a few tips, totally free, as a bonus for your listeners.
That's very kind of you.
Yeah, absolutely. I love doing these. I usually have a handful of those per week, so not a lot of those free spots available, but they can find them again on my website, sunessenceyoga.com/chat, which is where they will be able to book a time to hang out with me on Zoom, and we'll just talk about their life and their wellness, and I'll be able to help them out.
Good. So give my listeners a word of wisdom. What's your biggest take from becoming an entrepreneur?
That's a really good question.
Put you on the spot there, didn't I?
yeah. But I love it, and it really comes back to taking care of yourself, like everything we've been talking about just now. Because as an entrepreneur, you obviously have some sort of passion, some sort of idea that you want to bring into life, whether it's a service or a product that you're sharing. And you have this vision of it being successful, impacting people, giving people what they want. And you're like the one making that happen. And if you are not 100% full of energy, if you are not 100% healthy, then that dream isn't going to be fulfilled 100%. Like your potential is not going to be fulfilled. Maybe to some degree, you'll take some steps forward. But if you're not starting from a place of full health and full rejuvenation, then those dreams are just not going to be as fulfilled to the highest degree that they could be.
Yeah, if you haven't got the full energy, then everything's going to be half energized, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. And like it would be such a disappointment, because becoming an entrepreneur takes so much commitment and courage and creativity. And again, we have this vision. And then if that vision doesn't fulfill because we didn't take care of ourselves, how disappointing would that be, right?
Yeah. Very, very disappointing.
Yeah. So take care of yourselves. It's not selfish.
I agree. Well, yeah, very, very good advice. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And
it was great talking to you.
Yes. And I will speak to you again soon.
Yes, that sounds great.
Okay. You
Thank
take
Tara.
care.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you subscribe, rate and review so that we get to meet more lovely people and we get to give the message to people that need it quite now, right now. So just to remind you about the whole self-care thing, I read a book last year called The 5 a.m. Club, which was really cool. It was very business orientated towards entrepreneurs, but it was actually a story. So it was a little bit different to just like a factional book. But there was one part in it where the main character who's teaching these new entrepreneurs, he said that, it's great building an empire, but there's one thing that you have to make sure is that you don't die. And that is so true, because, you can build this massive business and you can impact millions of people all over the world. But if you don't take care of yourself and you die, then what's the point? It's all gone and you can't help people going forward, which is so sad. So please take care of yourself, guys. Make sure that you love yourselves and you give yourself good food. If you're feeling a little bit under the weather or sluggish, or you feel like you could do with a really good way of boosting your energy and your vitality, then, have a chat with Nadya. She would love to help you. She does everything on Zoom so she can reach you worldwide. So until we speak again, I'm sending you lots of love and blessings, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you for listening to the Happy, Inspired, Motivated podcast. I'll be back next week bringing more meditation, mindset, and motivation for your happy and successful life. To find out more about our community, go to tarachatzakis.com/happy, inspired, motivated.